In this beginner modeling tutorial, I will show you how to 3D model a rubber duck in Blender. And if you'd like to download this 3D model, then you can download it for free with the links in the description on my Gumroad store and my Patreon page, and it's also available on Sketchfab and CG Trader. And after you watch this tutorial, if you'd like to learn how to animate this rubber duck using soft body physics, then definitely check out my soft body physics for beginners tutorial. I'll have the link to that in the description. So here I am in a new scene in Blender, and if you want to see my screencast keys, they'll be right down here in the corner so you can see what buttons I'm pressing. So I'm going to start by pressing the A key a few times to make sure all the objects are selected. Then I'm going to hit the X key and I'm going to click on delete. So I'm now going to press Shift A. Shift A will bring up the add menu, and I want to go here to mesh, and then I want to add a UV sphere because we're going to start by modeling the duck's head. So let's add a UV sphere, and I'm going to zoom in here, and then right after you add the UV sphere, before you move it around or click away, you can click right behind me on the add UV sphere settings. Just open this up. And I want to turn these segments to 10, and I want to turn the rings to 6, and that way the UV sphere is lower poly. And I can now close the add UV sphere settings. Now this object is actually quite large, so I'm going to scale it down by hitting the S key, and then I can type in 0.1 and then enter. And then I will zoom in here, and then I just want to press Ctrl A, and I'm going to apply the scale, so this is now the object's new default size. So I'm now going to hit the Tab key, and that's going to take us into edit mode. And on the numpad, I can press the 1, and that is going to take us to front view. Now, the duck is going to be the same on both sides, so I can delete half of it, and then I can add a mirror modifier, and that way we'll only have to model one side of the duck. So I'm going to hold down the Z button, and then I'm going to move my mouse into the wireframe, and then let go. And I'll press the A key to deselect everything. I'm now going to hit the B key for the box select, and then I'm going to click and drag over this side, and then let go just to select half of the object. And I can hit the X key, and we want to delete the vertices. So I can now hit the Tab key to go back to object mode, and then to add the modifier, I can click over here on the modifier properties. I can just make this bigger, and I can click on add modifier, and under generate, I want to add the mirror modifier. And then make sure that you click on the X here so it mirrors it over on the X axis. I'm also going to click on this clipping button, and that way it's going to merge the very center vertices. So I'm now going to hit the Tab key to go back into edit mode, and I'll press the A key to select everything. And I will hit G to grab, and I'm going to bring this out on the X axis, so hit the X key, and I'm just going to bring out the mesh so that the head is a little bit wider here on the side. And then I can hold down the Z button and go back to solid view. Now if I go right down here, I want to extrude out the neck. So I'm going to select this bottom vertex right there, and I can hit X to delete, and let's delete the vertices. Then to select this loop of vertices, I'm going to hold down the Alt key and just click right here to select the loop of vertices. And then I can press the 3 on the numpad to go to side view. And I can now hit the E key. The E key is going to extrude the selection, and I can then also hit Z to bring it down on the Z axis, and I'll just stick it there. Then I can hit E to extrude again. I'll bring it down on the Z axis, place it there, and then I will hit the S key to scale this, and I'm going to make it a bit longer. And then if I hit the 1 on the numpad, that's going to go to front view, and I can also bring this out by hitting G to grab and bring it out on the X axis just like that. And then I'm going to zoom out a bit, and I will hit the E key again, and I'm going to hit Z to bring it down on the Z axis, and I'm going to bring this way down to model the body. Now you can see that the body is very square, and so I want to add some loop cuts here to make the body more round. So I'm going to press Ctrl R to add a loop cut, and I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel until there are 2 loop cuts, and then I can left click and right click so that they stay in the center. And then I can scale these up. I'm going to scale them up so they're a bit bigger and scale them out a bit. I can also hit G to grab, and I can bring this out on the X-axis just a little bit so the duck is a bit longer. And then I'm going to hold down the Shift and Alt key, and I'm going to select right there to select that loop of vertices, and Shift Alt select that loop right there. And I want to bring everything in a little bit, so I will hit G to grab and bring it in on the X-axis a little bit. Now the duck's body is a bit too long right now, so I'm going to hold down the Z button and go into wireframe, and then you can press B for the box select, and I'm going to click and drag to box select all of these vertices. And then I can hit S to scale, and I will scale them on the Y-axis and just bring them down like that. Then I can hold down the Z button and go back to solid view. So I'm now going to hit the 3 on the top of my keyboard, or you can also click right here, and that's going to go to the face select. and I can select this face, and I will hold down the shift key and select these two other faces. And I want to extrude out the chest a little bit. So I'll hit E to extrude, then I can hit Y to bring it out on the Y axis, and I just want to bring it out a little bit. So just like that. Now you can see the faces here go in and then over. So I'm going to press the 1 on the top of my keyboard. I'm now going to select this vertex, and then I can hold down the shift key and I'm going to select these other vertices. And I can now double tap the G key, and I'm going to bring this back so it's more into the center. And then I can also press the 7 on the numpad to go to top view, and I can bring this out so it's a bit more round. I can also go down here and select this vertex, and I can bring it up by hitting G to grab, bringing that up a bit. And also right down here I can select this, and I'll hit G to grab and bring it down just a little bit. Now so far this duck is very low poly, and so I want to give it a subdivision surface modifier to smooth it out. So I'm going to hit the tab key to go back to object mode, and the shortcut key to adding a subsurf modifier is the control and then the 1 on the top of your keyboard, so control 1. Or you can also click on add modifier, and here under generate you can add the subdivision surface. And so here's the subsurf modifier, and the levels viewport and render, I'm going to set these both to 1. And then you can right click to bring up the object context menu, and you can click on shade smooth. So I'm now going to hit the tab key to go back into edit mode, and I want to navigate here to the bottom, and I want to fill in these faces. So what I'm going to do is select this vertex here, and then I will hold down the shift key, and I'm going to select these 4 vertices, and I can press the F key to fill in faces there. And then I can also select this vertex here, and I can double tap the G key, and double tapping the G key will activate the edge slide, and I can bring it in a little bit. I could also select this vertex here and double tap the G key to bring it in a bit. So I now want to add some loop cuts here. So I'm going to press Ctrl R, and then I can scroll my mouse wheel so that there are 2, and I can left click and then right click so they stay in the center. So I now want to select this vertex and hold down the shift key and select these 2 vertices, and I'll press the F key to fill a face. And then I can select this vertex and hold down the shift key and select this vertex, and then I can just press the F key and that'll automatically fill it, and then I can press the F key again and that'll automatically fill it. I can also select this vertex here and then hold down the shift key and select this vertex, and I can double tap the G key and bring it up so it's a little bit higher, and that'll just help to round out the bottom of the duck. I can also select this vertex here and double tap the G key and place that there. Maybe do the same thing here, so select this, and I'll double tap the G key and bring it up so it's a bit more round. Alright, so I now want to navigate to the back here of the duck, and we're going to be extruding out the tail. So I'm going to click right here again to go to the face select, and then I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to select all 6 of these faces. So I will now press 3 on the numpad to go to side view, and I'm going to hit E to extrude, but then I don't want to extrude it out on the normals. That's what it's doing right now. I want to extrude it straight back. So I'm going to hit the Y button. That is going to bring it out on the Y axis, so I can just bring it back and I'll place it there. Then I'll press E to extrude again, and again I will hit Y to bring it back on the Y axis, and then I can scale the entire thing down on the Z axis and scale it down a bit more, and I can rotate it with the R key and then hit G to grab, and I can bring this up. And then I can navigate over here to the side, and I'll hit G to grab, bring it in a little bit, and I can also rotate this over and bring it in a little bit more. Then I can hit E to extrude again, and I'm gonna bring it back, so hit G to grab, bring that back. I can also scale the entire thing down and bring it in a little bit more. And if I press 3 on the numpad again for side view, I can rotate this more and bring it over. And then one more time, I will hit E to extrude, I'll scale this way down, make this much smaller and rotate it up. And then if I go here to side view, I can bring it way in, and I want to rotate it so that it's kind of pointed up so that the very back of the tail is a little bit pointy. And then I can also click here to go to the vertex select, and I can select some vertices, and I want to make it a bit more smooth, so I'm going to select a few of the vertices and kind of bring them around just to make it a little bit more smooth. Maybe select this one and bring it back a little bit, and bring this back a little bit. I can also select this vertex here and double tap the G key and bring that down a bit, and then select this vertex here and double tap the G key to activate the edge slide and bring it down. And I can also select this vertex here and this vertex here and double tap the G key to bring it up a little bit. I also might select some of these vertices and double tap the G key, or just bring them back a little bit. Now the neck and the head are a little bit small, so I do want to make them a bit bigger. So I'm going to press the A key to deselect everything. I'll hold down the Z button and go to wireframe, and then I can hit B for the box select, and I can click and drag to box select all of these vertices here, and I can zoom in, and I'm going to hold down the Shift and Alt key, and then just select that loop of vertices there. So I can now press 3 on the numpad to go to side view, and I'm going to scale the entire thing up a bit. I can also scale the entire thing down on the Z-axis just a little bit, and I can also hit G to grab and bring it up a little bit. And I will hold down the Z button and go back to solid view, so now the duck's head is a little bit bigger. So I now want to model the wings, so what I'm going to do is just shape the wings with these faces here. So I'm going to select this vertex, and then I will hold down the Shift key and select these other vertices, and I can double tap the G key to bring them up a little bit. Then I can select this vertex here, and I will double tap the G key, and I'm going to bring this up, and also select this vertex here and double tap the G key to bring it up a little bit. I can also select this vertex here, double tap the G key to bring it up a little bit, and then this vertex here, I can double tap the G key and bring it down a little bit. So now that we have the shape of the wing, I'm going to press the 3 on the top of my keyboard, or you can click right here to go to the face select, and I'm going to select this face, and I will hold down the Shift key and select these 2 other faces. And I think I want to bring the entire thing up, so I'll hit G to grab, and I can bring it up on the Z axis a bit. Then I can press E to extrude, and we're going to extrude that out to make the wings. And then I can also scale these, and I'll scale them up on the Z axis just to make them a little bit bigger. So now I want to make the eye, so I'm going to go right up here, and I'm going to select this face right here, so it's the face which is going slightly towards the front. And I'm going to press the I key, that is going to inset the face, so we now have another face in that face, and I will bring it down and place it there. And then I want to shape this so it is a more even square. So I'm going to click right up here to go to the face select, and I'll now just select these vertices and press G to grab, and I'm going to shape this better so it is more the shape of a square. And we'll be modeling more detailed eyes later, but I'm now going to be modeling the beak. So I'll click right back here to go to the face select, and I'm going to select this front face right here, and I can press 3 on the numpad to go to side view, and I can now press E to extrude, bring this down, and then if I navigate over here to the top, you can see it's coming out a little bit, so I can rotate it with the R key, and also hit G to grab and bring it in a little bit. And then I can press 3 on the numpad to go to side view. And I can bring it back a little bit, and then I'll hit E to extrude again, and I can rotate it and bring it over. And then I can hit E to extrude one more time, and I'm going to scale this down a little bit, and I'll also rotate it and bring it up a little bit. And I can scale it down a bit more. So now we just have kind of a nice stylized beak. Now I can also click here to go to the vertex select, and I'm going to select some of these vertices and kind of bring them over a little bit, just so that it's a bit more smooth. So I can bring this down here, maybe select this vertex and bring it down a little bit, and so that way the beak is going to pop out more. I can also select some of these vertices here and kind of bring them in a little bit, and also maybe these vertices here, bring them up a little bit. And also I want the beak to get smaller as it comes out, so I can select this vertex here and shift select this vertex, and I can bring these in a little bit, and then I can hold down the Shift key and select these 2 vertices, and I can bring them in a little bit as well. So I want to add more details, like the details for the eye, and I also want to add a crease here on the beak. But this duck model is very low poly. So I'm going to go to object mode, and then I want to apply both of these modifiers. And I want to make sure I apply the subsurf modifier with the viewport and render levels both at 1. So what you can do is click on the mirror modifier, and with your mouse hovered over the mirror modifier, you can press Ctrl A, and that is going to apply the modifier. You can also click right here on the drop down, and then click on apply to apply modifiers. So now both modifiers are applied. So if I go into edit mode, you can see we now have more geometry to work with because we've applied the subsurf modifier. Now I do want this to mirror over to the other side. So I'm going to hit the 1 on the numpad again to go to front view, and I will hold down the Z button and go to wireframe. And I can press the A key to deselect everything, and then you can just click and drag over here, and then let go. We just want to select half of the duck, and I can press X, and then let's delete the vertices. So I can now click here on add modifier, and we want to add the same modifiers. So I can first add the mirror modifier. We want to make sure that the X is turned on so it's mirroring back and forth, and then I can also click on the clipping button, and that way it'll merge the center vertices. And then I can hold down the Z button and go back to solid view, and I will hit the tab key to go back to object mode, and I want to give this another subsurf modifier to kind of smooth it it out because it is a little bit chunky on the edges. So I'm going to press Control 2. Control 2 is the shortcut key to add a subsurf modifier, or you can also add the subsurf modifier right here. And I want to make sure that the viewport and render levels are both to 2. So now this duck model is much more smooth. So I can now model the eyes. So I'll hit the tab key to go back into edit mode, and I want to model the shape of the eyes so that they're a bit more round. So what I'm first going to do is hold down the Alt key and click right here to select the loop of vertices. And I want to scale these vertices, and I want to scale them on the Z-axis and just make it a little bit higher. Then I can select this vertex here, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select the other 4 vertices. And I can hit S to scale, and I'm going to scale these down. And then I can select this vertex here, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select these 4 vertices. And I can hit S to scale and just scale them up a little bit. So that way the eye is more round. I can also hold down the Shift key, and I'm just going to shift and select all of these vertices here. And then I want to scale these up a bit. I'll scale them on the Z-axis so that's a bit higher up. So I'm basically just making the eye very circular. And then I also want to hold down the Alt key and the Shift key and select that loop of vertices there. And I can also hold down the Shift key and select that vertex. So now we have all of the vertices selected. And I want to scale these all down, so hit the S key to scale because I want the eyes to be a little bit smaller. So I'm now going to click right up here to go to the face select, and I will press the A key to deselect, and I will hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to click right here to select the loop of faces. And I'm going to kind of navigate over here to the side a bit, and I will now hit E to extrude, and I want to extrude these way back, not too far, but just a bit back like that. So now we actually have the eye details. And then I can also select this face, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select these other faces, and I will press the I key to inset these faces and inset them down a little bit. And then if I go over here to the side view, I want to look at the eyes on side view. I'm going to press G to grab, and I'm going to bring these out just a little bit, so that way the eye is a bit more round. And then I also want to make the edges a bit sharp, so I'm going to press Control R to add a loop cut, and I can left click and I can drag over so it's a bit closer, and then left click again. And you can see now the edges is a bit sharper because we've added that loop cut and it's closer to that other loop cut. So I now want to add some sharpness to the edge of the beak. So I'm going to click right here to go to the vertex select, and I can hold down the Alt key and just select that loop of vertices. And I can now double tap the G key, and I'm going to bring it up a little bit because I want the beak to be a little bit higher up. So I'll place it there. Now I want to add a bevel to this so that there are 2 loop cuts. So I'm going to press Control B. Control B is going to add a bevel to the selection, and I can bring my mouse out just a little bit so that there is a very small bevel, and I'll place it there. Then I can press Control R to add a loop cut in the center, and I'm going to move my mouse right here, and then I can left click and right click so it stays in the center. And then I'm going to hit the S key to scale, and I'm just going to scale this down just a little bit like that. And if I hit the tab key to go back to object mode, you can see now there's a little sharp area between the beak and the head. And there is the finished duck model. So let's now add some materials. So I can click right over here to the material properties, and I'm going to hold down the Z button and just move my mouse down into the material preview for now. And then I can click right here on the new button, and this is going to add a new material, and I'm just going to call this yellow. So for this material, I want to click on the base color here, and I want to make this a yellow color for the duck. And then I want to allow a little bit of light to go through, so I want to add some subsurface, and that's going to make it look a bit more like rubber. So here on the subsurface, I can just turn this to a 0.1. And then on the subsurface radius, these values are the red, green, and blue values, and I want these all to be just a small number. So I'm going to click and then drag down and then let go, and I'm going to type in 0.1 and then enter. And then here on the subsurface color, to make this look kind of like a rubbery plastic, I'm going to click here on the subsurface color, and I'm going to make this a bright red color. And then I do want it to be more shiny, so let's take the roughness, and I can turn the roughness to a 0.25, so it is a bit more shiny. And I think I'll take this base color, and I'll make it a bit brighter and a bit more yellow. So I now want to add a beak material, so I'm going to click right up here, click on the plus here, and this is going to add a new material in the slot. And then if I click here on the drop down, I can select the yellow material. But then I want to duplicate this material so that it is a separate material. So I can click right here on this little file icon, and that's going to duplicate the material, so it is now separate, but it still has the same data. And I can click on this to rename it, and I'm going to rename it to orange. Now I want to apply this orange material just to the beak. So I'll hit the tab key to go into edit mode, and I can click right here to go to the face select. And I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to hold down the Alt key and select that loop of vertices right there. And then I'm going to hold down the Shift and Alt key, and I'm going to keep on holding down the Shift and Alt key and selecting all of these loops of faces. And then here at the very end, I can just hit the B for the box select and box select those faces. So now that we have all the beaks selected, you can click on the orange material and you can click on the assign button. So now those faces have the orange material. And then here on the base color, let's make this a orangey color, kind of an orangey red color. And then I want to add 2 more materials for the eyes. So I'm first going to hold down the Alt key and I'm going to select those faces right there. If I hold down the Z button and go into wireframe, it's going to be those faces there in the back of the eye. So I can now click on the plus here to add a new material in the slot. I can click here to select a material, and I'm going to select the yellow material, and I actually want to hold down the Z button and go to the material preview, and then I want to duplicate this material. So again, I'm going to click on this file icon, and that's going to duplicate it, and I can rename it to white. And then here on this base color, I can click on this, and I'm going to click on the RGB, and I want to set the red, green, and blue all to 1 so that it is a white color. And then with those faces still selected, I'm going to click on the assign button with the white material selected. So now we have the back of the eye. And then I do want to have the subsurface to make it look like plastic, but I don't want the subsurface to be red. I just want it to be white. So I can actually click here and I can drag this color and I can drop it here into the subsurface color, and that way the subsurface will be white as well. And then I want to add 1 more material for the eye. I want to make the eye black. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and select that loop right there. And then I can hold down the Shift and Alt key and select that loop there. And then I will just hold down the Shift key and select those faces. So I can now do the same thing. So I'm going to click on the plus here to add a new material. And then let's click on the drop down here and I'm going to select the white material. But then I want to click on this button here, and this is going to duplicate the material so it is separate, and I can rename it to black. And then with those faces selected and with the black material selected, you can click on the assign button. And then here on the base color, let's just set this to fully black. And then I also want the subsurface to be fully black. So if I click on the subsurface color, I can make this fully black as well. So I can now hit the tab key to go back into object mode. So that's going to be it for this tutorial on how to create this stylized rubber duck 3D model. So I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching. And again, I'll have a free download of the project files if you'd like to download this rubber duck 3D model. And if you'd like to learn how to animate this rubber duck using soft body physics, then definitely check out my soft body physics for beginners tutorial, where I show you how to animate this rubber duck and make it look like it's made of rubber, and we'll make it bounce on some objects, and we'll also have some other rubber ducks bounce on other ducks. So I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for watching.